back to This Day. Joining us on the program now is Elsie Addington. She's with United Mutual. And Elsie, thanks for joining us today on our program.
Well, thanks for having me, Paul. It's only been a month, but it seems like forever.
Right. It seems like forever, and then it goes by so fast as well. So interesting times that we're living in today. Let's
Indeed.
talk a little bit about the Architectural Control and Standards Committee that you are a part of.
Well, actually, I would love to talk to you about that, but there was no August meeting of the Architectural Control and Standards Committee for United, which was scheduled for the 26th of August. And as it turned out, there were no burning issues and no variance requests ready to review. So we just canceled it. Those meetings take a lot of time for staff and the preparation and us. So if there's nothing to talk about, there's nothing to talk about. Along with the new alterations director, Robbie Donkost, and I threw him in here on purpose. I want everybody to remember his name, Robbie Donkost. He's the new alterations director. And the desk is open for business, although the community center is still closed. So it's open, but it's not open, but that's the times we live in. For further information, residents may call Resident Services at 949-597-4600. They want to contact people.
Well, we know that they didn't meet this past few days, but we know that the United Mutual Board is still meeting. You actually have a meeting on Tuesday, but you're also looking for this process of the election of officers too. So I know that's an important subject for all of you on the United Mutual Board.
It is, and I'm glad you brought that up because I may have prepared a couple of notes about that, Paul. I did want to talk today a little bit about the upcoming elections for United. There are four terms, there were four positions to be filled. We're getting a lot of elections lately. It seems like all the boards are just, but it's that time of year, you know. This term, there are four positions to be filled. And as of just yesterday, we have 7 candidates have put in their paperwork to run for those 4 positions. So I'm really glad, because if we have fewer under the new state law, if we have fewer than the number of positions open, and fewer than that number or the exact number put in, then we don't even have an election. It's just by acclamation. And what's the fun of that? You don't get any competition. You can't compare different people, talk to your neighbors. So that's really good. We're really happy there are 7 candidates. And it's really important for all of our residents to take their voting responsibility seriously. During the last election in 2019, I don't know if it's less or fewer, but I'm going to say less than 30%, fewer than 30% of the manors in Laguna Woods Village were represented in that vote, less than 30%. And I guess that's kind of endemic everywhere, but it's too bad because of those ballots cast, 1,800 were submitted. But of the 1,800, approximately 1,800, more than 500 were rejected as invalid, Paul. 500.
Wow. And
so that meant that 1,300 votes, or about 20% of the total available manors, were represented in that election. And I'm certainly happy that those people voted, but nonetheless, I'm really sorry that the other 80% didn't, or it wasn't 80%, because 500 of these were rejected. So the other 70% didn't manage to get in their ballots, because these are expensive and time consuming and, you know, enthusiastic. I mean, it's an election, right?
Right.
And I understand it was the same in 3rd. It was approximately the same turnout in 3rd.
Now, do you believe that those invalid or rejected ballots were because, you know, there is obviously instructions and a process when it's delivered to each manor, but maybe they didn't sign the front envelope, or they didn't put the envelope into the other envelope? Because there is a process, and what we really want to convey is that they need to read the instructions and follow those instructions precisely, and that way their vote can be counted, and that's what's so important.
Well, you're absolutely right, Paul. And as a matter of fact, I believe all 500 invalidated ballots were invalidated because of lack of a signature.
Right.
And I've got a couple of
Well, I know that would have been a great disappointment to you and to the board and to the many directors that spend a lot of time, you know, working, even though it's volunteering, you are working for your mutual and for your neighbors and your community.
It was disappointing. A lot of effort goes into that. Our boards, in particular, I mean, I'm not talking about staff at this point, but our boards put in thousands of unpaid hours. You know, we're not doing this for a bonus or for a stipend or for anything. This is all free, and we're glad to do it. But we put in thousands of hours a year to keep this beautiful village running, while trying to keep as many people happy as possible, while still performing our fiduciary roles as caretakers in the United Mutual. This dedication has persisted in spite of the COVID pandemic. Although it is very challenging for everyone, staff and residents, as well as directors, the use of technology was set up by VMS and put into effect almost immediately. Board meetings were canceled for a mere 2 weeks. Can you believe that? 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, staff had this place up and running again, and in terms of meetings. And in the latter, it was the second 2 weeks in March that we had to cancel the meetings. And after that, we've just kept on going. I have personally attended, this is all virtual meetings. I've attended up to 4 meetings a day due to all the extra issues, even besides COVID, that have been coming up lately. But that is an extreme. It's the budget, you know, it's COVID, it's all this. We shortened the election cycle this year and changed it a little bit. Or, sorry, we shortened the budget cycle. So I get it, but we have a lot of extra meetings, and VMS has stepped up to the tasks involved in running all these meetings remotely while taking comments from residents for consideration. I mean, that's like, I don't know how they do it. People are calling in, people are emailing in, they're dealing with the questions, and there's a chat box where people list who wants to talk next. And these people behind the screens, you don't even see them, and they're juggling all this. It's just incredible. And we're very grateful. Board members have spent their own money. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Board members are having to spend their own money for new computers. I mean, people's computers are breaking. Laptops are blowing up. A cartridge, ink, and toner is running out when we have to print some of our packages. Or we used to get everything. We're kind of spoiled. We used to be treated like kings and queens, and now we're kings and queens in confinement, sort of. Video cams. I never had a video cam. I don't like video cams. I never had a microphone. First of all, I bought a microphone. Then when I realized I was, so we're spending money here. And so our board leadership has made themselves available, on many weekends, along with VMS executives and staff. I get emails answered to me from staff. I'm expecting an answer maybe on Monday or Tuesday. I get it at 10:30 at night on Saturday, or 12 noon on Sunday. I mean, it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So
and even this program, this show is on Saturday, obviously, and prior to the pandemic, we only aired Monday through Friday, and it's important that staff is available, that our board of directors are available for our community, especially during this time. And you just never know when important information needs to be gotten out to the community. And it tells you the level of effort that the VMS and the board of directors are putting in to get us all through this pandemic. Yeah,
and I really didn't mean to leave Channel 6 out because I was getting carried away with how I had to buy my own toner. But well, the whole communication division has just been super.
Thank you.
But all that's tied in, getting back to the elections,
right.
With like how much we all love this place and how hard we're all working for it, especially during this last pandemic. And so we're really hoping that there's a good turnout. It isn't tit for tat, but we talked about disappointment, and like last year, I mean, we didn't realize how hard we were going to be working this year, but we worked hard last year, and then it would just seem like nobody was really interested, and that is disappointing. But
well, you've been on the board for a little while now. Do you have some tips or some advice for not only people that would possibly volunteer their time to be at the committee or board level, or even just, who do you vote for? What do you do in looking for the right member to be a director on the United Mutual Board?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. My first suggestion would be to get to know your candidates. And even though we're in a big community and it's not really reasonable for, how are you going to actually go out and meet them? However, even in this time of pandemic, residents will be receiving voting packages soon, and those will have the candidate statements and the election related dates, because those dates are all important too. When you're going to get your ballot, when you're going to mail it. Residents should familiarize themselves with that, as well as the position statement of the candidates. They put a lot of time, the candidates, into writing these statements, and they put their background, and that's a good way to get to an idea. And then TV6 is going to be running, they're going to be recording first and then running messages from the candidates. I don't know if you call those public service announcements or just candidate announcements, but you know more about that. And how do those run, Paul?
Usually it's a Meet the Candidates program, and sometimes we'll package them all in. Everybody gets about 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how the process is and how many candidates there are. And then we'll package it into a half-hour or 1 hour show. And then that way people can meet the candidates. And once we get that recorded, we'll be sure to broadcast that, and then obviously promote those days and times for that broadcast.
And will it be sent more than once?
Oh, absolutely. Usually we'll show it 3 to 4 times, once or twice a week, especially during that election process time. Absolutely.
And that schedule's listed where?
Well, we usually will put it on the message board, and we'll also promote it on this day.
Super. So if people watch this day and the message board, they'd be all set for what Channel 6 had to offer.
Right.
In terms of meeting the candidates, right? And we really appreciate, I do remember, it was the first time I was ever videotaped, I think, was in your office when I was running for this position.
Right.
That was 2 years ago, my goodness. Okay, so I mentioned that TV6, okay. And then watch for the Meet the Candidates event, which will be televised on TV6. We talked about that. And candidate statements will also be published in the Globe, Paul.
Okay.
They have each candidate writes, I think it's 250 words, and the Globe will publish those as well. So that's the first tip I have, is try to get a feel, talk to your neighbors. Maybe some of your neighbors know Mrs. McGillicuddy who's running. I mean, see, but the point is get a feel for the people, and, try to use as many of these venues as you can to acquaint yourself with them. And the second, and equally important, maybe even more important, not really, but it's very important, is make sure that your vote counts. Read your ballot instructions carefully, and never forget those 500 ballots that were invalidated. They didn't sign the back of the envelope. In order to protect voter integrity, the ballots must be complete in every way. This isn't like, oh, gee, this is just a minor thing. It's a big thing. And those are all legally, and there's vote counters, and it's important to protect the integrity of the vote. So it's not that difficult, though. You vote for your candidate, you put the ballot in the envelope, you sign your name as instructed, and you're there. And
right.
I'm sorry?
I said correct.
And that's it.
Yeah. Now, before we let you go, it is the Labor Day weekend, so we do appreciate you spending your Saturday with us. But do you have any last comments before we let you go and enjoy the rest of the weekend?
Yes, Paul, there is. I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. If you're mailing your ballot by U.S. mail, please get it in as early as possible to ensure delivery by November the 2nd, which is the drop dead date. There is the national election during this exact time period, and the post office is going to be extremely busy, especially with all the recent unexpected changes at the USPS. So the earlier you can mail it, the better chance you have of getting it in on time, and the sooner you can feel good about yourself, knowing that you've done right by your village. For those of you that need to get out of the house more, there will be a drop box at the community center, and that information will be in the package that's mailed.
Great.
So that should be really it.
Right. Well, we thank you for joining us today. We know how important it is that the election process is done. And then especially that when you get your ballot, be sure and read the instructions, follow those instructions to make sure your vote counts. So great information. We thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday. We wish you a comfortable, it's going to be a warm weekend. So have a comfortable weekend the next couple of days for this Labor Day weekend. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Paul.
That's Elsie Addington. She's with the United Mutual Board, and they have their report usually once a week right here on Village Television, and they're usually here on Saturdays, so be sure and tune in. We'll be back with more of our program right after this.